Hey everyone, and welcome to another video on Shin Megami Tensei D2 Liberation. This video was sponsored by Sega and Atlus, so we'd like to thank them very much for that opportunity. If you look in the description below, you will find a tracking link to the game, which you can download now for free. And you can also link it up to your Facebook in order to get some extra hints and also to get some bonuses in-game as well. We also will have a link to our last video we did on this in the description as well if you didn't watch that or if you just want to watch it again because we're so lovely. Anyway, that video talks more about the beginning of the game, you know, getting started, the early story missions and whatnot. So this video we're going to be covering some stuff that's a little bit later, specifically stuff that you start unlocking after you start Chapter 2. One of which is the summon feature. So like a lot of other different mobile games, you can use gems, which is a type of in-game currency which you can buy in their shop, to summon demons, and you will randomly get a demon, depending on the type of summon you do, of usually between 3 to 5 stars. So like here I got Scotty, who is typically a magic-y type demon from that, and we're going to be getting a couple of other demons this way as well.
We just summoned Mr. Scott.
I guess. You can also sometimes get free summons through these summon files, which you'll sometimes get as random drops. You can get them from clearing story missions, I believe, and maybe through the daily bonuses as well. This time, you know, like anything that's random, I got something I already have, although Satanta is one of my personal favorites design-wise when it comes to SMT
how can
monsters.
you say no to that scarf?
He's so fabulous. And yeah, so here, so there were two types that I had at the moment. There was the one where you had the chance of getting a 5-star, which is the best, or you could get a 3-star. But this one you always get a 4. So like here I got oh my god, I'm gonna screw up the pronunciation of this so bad. Gurimekala, who's actually my favorite demon that I've gotten so far, because he's really strong and he repels physical attacks, which is pretty helpful considering that physical attacks are the most common type of attack you'll find in the game.
Setting aside tactical advantages, he's a giant, obese, Cyclopsian elephant man, so...
Yeah, and they use his older design here too, because some of the other games have a design where he's just kind of an elephant with one eye, but this design in particular has the sword and the armor and stuff, and I've just always been really, really fond of it, so I was really happy to pull that demon. SMT has such a great variety of demon designs in general where, you know, most of the time if I see one, it's one that I really like. Whereas in some other games with wide monster varieties, you know, some are really good, but some are like, who are you? Again, I don't really get that too much whenever I play most SMT stuff. Also, apparently there's a drug war, but that's okay because you don't need drugs if you watch Megakin video. Because the actual line is, you won't get as high as my dope-ass videos will make you, I believe is the actual quote that they have.
Also, our protagonist got a random sex change between parts.
Yeah, that...
Because different accounts. Yay.
Yeah, so...
So, next chapter, thanks to Megakeen, who still has one eye open, and then now it's not.
Well, you know, that's how you can tell that I'm not the one playing this, because Ted actually chose the protagonist who's his own gender.
I do like both characters' designs, though. I just, you know, for the sake of variety. I think I did pick the female protagonist when I was playing on my phone, but just for a little bit of clarification, I had to get a new account when I was doing this using an Android emulator on my computer, which actually did have you download it through the Google Play Store. So it's an official copy of the game just playing on my computer. So, yeah.
You use Nox like I did, right?
Yeah, I used Nox. So anyway, this is a character we're going to be spending a good amount of time with.
What? Excuse me. Hold on. What are you wearing? Why are you wearing it in the modern day? And how do you walk down the street without being laughed out of the building?
Have you seen the other outfits these people wear?
I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have phrased it that way. If you're already on the street, you've already been laughed out of the building.
Well,
okay.
I mean, she also, if people laugh at her, she can sick her demons on them.
Well,
so,
you know, Airgun Girl is wearing a school uniform that's pretty normal. I think, like, you know, for most of the week, you're just wearing that wherever you go, because why would you go all the way home and change? if you only have to go back halfway to get wherever you're going after school, you know.
Yeah.
But, eh.
So anyway, she runs basically the dungeon section of Dx2. I believe we said something about there not being dungeons in the last part. That was a lie. There are. But in order to get access to
It was unfortunately I hadn't reached one yet.
Yeah, you have to
I had
get through
about-
a pretty decent chunk of story in order to unlock it. So we have to prove our
Yeah.
worth because RPGs love to make you do that. So yeah, we got to prove our worth to her in order to head in there now. So you can see my team at the moment, which is a little different from
now.
Lewis's.
I feel bad. This is running so much smoother on your PC than it was on mine.
I don't know why. The load time I have noticed I think is a little bit longer on mine than on yours, but that's just something weird that happens.
I get the feeling you just have a better CPU.
That might be it.
My computer is stuck on this old as hell mini motherboard that can only be updated so far, you know.
So,
well, yeah, what are we doing in these dungeons?
Well, we'll see in a moment, but one of the cool things I want to point out is that for beating Chapter 1 in its entirety, you unlock another playable character who is Megakin with the goggles and whatnot, and he comes with a level 15 Jack Frost, so the Hee-Homeboy is on my squad for the majority of this video, because he's the best demon, and no one can argue with that.
Did you have that line prepared and ready to go?
No, it's used in Atlas games. One of the summoning lines you get in one of the games, I forget which one is, now you and I are Hee-Homeboys. Jack Frost always has the best dialogue. Like, for example, in Strange Journey, if you run up to a Jack Frost and try to recruit him, he'll say, "Do I scare you?" And then one of the responses you can get is, "I'm not afraid of mascots." And so Jack Frost remembers that he's Atlas's mascot and says that he'll join you to improve his company's image. However, if you try that same tactic on Pyro Jack, he reminds you that he's the wrong Jack, and then he'll get angry and start fighting you instead. So, I love Shin Megami Tensei. So yeah, the Jack Frost you get, he's normally a low-level demon, 1 star, but the one you get for just recruiting Megakin is already at level 15, so he's a good deal ahead in terms of health of even some of my higher star demons that I've got here as well. So that's one of the benefits of grinding up low-level demons is that I think they level up a little bit quicker, and then you can also feed them to your other demons for your XP later in the Pandemonium, I think is what it's called.
That function, does it? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Something Persona 5 did as well.
Yeah, a lot of games do that where you grind your lower level units into dust and then
yeah,
higher
I've
level
spent
units
the
can eat
entire
them for
first playthrough
experience.
of Persona 5 feeding Izanagi every persona I had and then resummoning them from the compendium so I could do it over again. So I think I did that with Arsene as well. I made my beginner level demon like a hell of a demon for the end game.
Hell of a demon. I get it. How expensive? That's probably one of the more expensive ways to do it because the compendium is usually pretty costly.
Yeah.
Whenever you try it.
Yeah,
in these kinds of games.
It was pretty expensive to do.
I take it there's no particular version of the compendium in that sense in this game.
It would be a little bit. Not that I've found yet. Maybe it's something you unlock later. But it would be a little bit broken because you're kind of encouraged to go through old areas or go into the Aura Gate in order to re-recruit demons you already have. So it would be a little bit broken if you could summon Metatron over and over again and then fuse him with low-level stuff to get a whole bunch of 5-star fusions and then just summon him back. So, from what I've seen, not yet, but I won't say no firmly because
I won't say no
either,
either.
it could be added in a patch or
something. It took forever to unlock the compendium in Persona 3. You had to go through the whole first month of the game before the game would even let you have it. That was kind of annoying, actually.
Did you have to? I remember you might have had to do a quest in order to unlock it too, but I haven't played that game in
No, not a
years,
quest.
so.
It just unlocks on a set calendar day.
Okay.
Yeah, but not until after the first full moon boss. So basically, anything you fused during that first month was gone in the trash forever. So, ooh.
Yeah. So the character you choose usually doesn't matter. By that I mean I'm talking about the human. They all have different kind of passive effects, but the one I like the best out of everybody I've found so far is actually the default one because that gives you an extra 10% EXP. And as always, grinding up characters faster I always enjoy. Also, I found some frogs there. You might have you might have noticed. There's an event going on where frogs are raining from the sky, so you can pick up the frogs and trade
It's
them
the
in for
10
items.
plagues, flee!
So I assume the tactic is to use your main character for grinding and to use the other recruitable characters for competitive stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I don't quite remember what their. I believe one has better healing than like your demons have better healing if you recruit them. I don't remember specifically because I don't use them as much, but it is helpful to keep that in mind. And in some instances, you actually can have two party members with you at the same time, like in the Origate, which I will be showing off right now. So in that case, you can like pick between your two favorites and then use both of them, and I believe you get both of their effects as well. So. Yeah.
You two go to the school of being a jerk to everyone.
So your name is like 2 letters away from Senran Kagura. Okay, that makes sense. I refuse.
You don't have the right. Yeah, I refuse. Well, you might die anyway, but you're not allowed to. All right. So anyway, she's really into Animal Crossing because she like talks about feng shui every 5 minutes as well.
Oh, feng shui. Wait, is that like the fortune telling thing with the dragons?
It's about like laying out your home for good luck.
Oh, okay.
Basically, like certain things need to be on certain compass directions, and it brings it brings
it
good
harnesses
luck.
like the Earth's chi or something.
Mixing that up with something else that sounds vaguely similar, because there was one of the 2 things I remember from Persona 2 is that the second game begins with something to do with fortune telling. And every NPC in the game is talking about it, and I couldn't follow it because I don't know what the heck is going on. Don't tell me. Oh, no.
Yep. Yeah, this is definitely SMT dungeon.
This is the worst part of classic SMT.
So this is the dungeon crawling. It's actually very streamlined. These dungeons are set up very much like original Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2. You can actually play those games on the iOS store as well, and at least one of them is fully translated, which is, I think, the only official translation the SNES SMTs have ever gotten. But yeah, so this is the... You'll have to bear with me for a moment while I'm still getting used to the controls, because this was the first time I ever set foot in one of these dungeons. So yes, this is classic first-person dungeon crawling at its finest. Thankfully, these dungeons are much smaller than some of the gigantic labyrinths that certain SMT games can have. If you ever played Strange Journey, some of those places are ginormous.
Oh, that's good. That's because the one thing that I don't really like about these kind of first-person dungeons is that it's so easy to lose your way. The only time I've ever been able to put up with it is actually Persona Q. I keep bringing up Persona in this playthrough. I swear it's not on purpose, but that's because you can draw a map the whole time. So
yeah, Persona Q is based heavily on Etrian Odyssey, another Atlas game, and I love the map. The map making in Etrian Odyssey is so much fun. It's very relaxing. But thankfully, you do have a map on you at all times, and the areas are pretty small, so getting lost isn't usually an issue. It's more about trying to navigate your way around and managing your, I believe it's called AP. So basically, you can't explore the dungeons freely. You have a certain limited number of steps, and the steps recharge on a timer like your in-game stamina does. But however, there are other ways to refresh it. Like we'll be coming up in just a moment to one of the Shrines of Healing, where once an hour you can get your AP and your characters healed for free. Now, actually, it might not be for free. Don't quote me on that one. But you can get your characters healed and your AP replenished, so you can keep on going. And like the stamina in this game, you can go over your maximum. So you'll see me for a while have like 160 AP out of 100, which technically isn't how math works, but that's okay because demons don't really exist either. So
I'm going to be pedantic and correct you. Yeah, that is how math works. You can have fractions that have a higher number on the top. They just usually get simplified into a whole number and a fraction. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So anyway.
So what exactly are we coming into these shrines for?
So there are bosses and stuff that you can find. There's also random encounters as well.
I'm sorry, that's classic Shin Megami Tensei artwork. Whoever drew it just does not get an anime.
Yeah, she's always the shrine lady's always drawn like that. I can imagine it gets pretty cold with your apron floating above you instead of actually keeping you warm.
It's just a weird quirk of the Shin Megami Tensei series and sub-series that whoever is drawing whatever series has at least one problem with anatomy. The Persona artist can't draw necks. The classic SMT artist can't draw feet. The Devil Survivor can't.
I love Devil Survivor, man. Giant boobs and all.
Can't draw anatomy at all.
But anyway,
I can't wait. Anyway.
So anyway, I picked the I want to go home option, so I actually left the dungeon early by mistake. But anyway, coming in here is good. Coming in here is good for a number of reasons. For one, you get to have random encounters, which normally people don't like in RPGs, but this is good because there will always be certain enemies that spawn on certain floors. So if, for example, you really want to recruit a Jack Frost, you can run around in here and you'll always run into some, so you can get you're more likely to get a recruit that way. Another good reason to come in here is because this is probably the easiest place in the game to farm magnetite, which you need in order to do demon fusion. So if you're running low on that, doing some floors in the Aura Gate is probably one of the best ways to do it. One other reason why I really like coming in here, probably my favorite reason personally, is that when you're in here, like I said earlier, you can have two parties with you. So you can switch to your other party in battle. I actually believe that this battle coming up right here is the tutorial on that, but you're not ever required to do that. So you can have one team be your super strong ultra team, clearing out the enemies really, really quickly, while you can have your baby team with all of the monsters you just summoned or fused in there, completely safe from harm and not in any danger in any way, but they'll still get the same amount of experience that your main party does. So it's a great way to kind of level up your weaker demons or your newer demons so that they can match up with the rest of your team and then start being useful later.
You're telling me you don't have to switch everyone in to have them defend for one turn so that they gain the same experience everyone else does.
Yeah, basically, which is the most irritating part of a lot of RPGs, actually, is the switch in, switch out, to make sure that everybody gets a share of that experience.
Half my game time in Final Fantasy X.
Anyway, so this is another wave boss?
No, this is just a normal, this is just another normal random encounter. One of the things about exploring in the Aura Gate is that whenever you run into an enemy, it will only be one wave, but you don't get healed in between fights. So each individual battle is easier, but you're more likely to drain your resources over time, which is why the Shrines of Healing are really helpful, because you get full heals and all of that. You do recover your MP every turn. You get, I believe, 3 MP recharged every turn. But that's usually not going to be enough to keep your team fully healed and whatnot. So there is a different sort of strategy to exploring these areas as opposed to doing a story mission where it's mostly, 3 or 4 waves of enemies.
I have a question about this dungeon, actually. Is there a progression to it? Like, do you go from floor to floor? Is there a completion?
Yeah.
So...
I don't know if there's an end. It might be the way a lot of mobile games work is that once you do reach the end, one of the next patches will release more floors, but there is progression. This is floor 1. We will explore some of floor 2 in this video as well. Every floor ends with a boss. There's usually, this is the tutorial level, so there's not really a whole lot of multiple routes or anything like that, but there are treasures to find on later floors.
So is there any story significance to making progress here, like the Labyrinth of Amala in Nocturne, or, the dungeon in Persona 5?
So I believe so. Yes, it's a side story, so it is completely it's a side story. You are being sent in here to find a research team that got lost. At the end of the second floor, I believe we find a journal from one of them. So there is a side story going on throughout this area, and you will explore more of it. But it is, from what I can tell, mostly separate from the main story, because you can keep on going through the main story and ignore this if you don't feel like doing it.
That was
You can
also
just
true.
stick to
That was also true in Nocturne, which is why I brought it up. I think going through the floors of the dungeon would only be necessary to a certain point, and if you happened to complete the dungeon, it would get you a completely different ending.
Oh yeah, the True Demon ending, which is everybody's favorite from that game. Although I don't like Lucifer. He's a jerk. So I'm not a big fan of that one personally. But
Well,
whatever.
I think
Lawful
one of
life.
the reasons that it was everyone's favorite is because you get to beat him up.
Yeah, but you beat him up and then you join him, and then the Demi-Fiend goes on multi-timeline jumping shenanigan adventures afterwards. The SMT timeline's weird, man. Technically, every ending is canon, according to SMT4 Apocalypse, so that's something. But yeah, so this dungeon, completely optional, but I have a lot of fun in here. It's definitely an acquired taste and not something for everyone, but playing Strange Journey really gave me an appreciation for those kind of labyrinthian dungeons where, yes, they're annoying, but there is a certain sense of satisfaction coming from seeing your map be fully filled in, and you know exactly where every damage tile is and exactly where every conveyor belt that takes you halfway across the map is and whatever. It's a unique satisfying experience.
Yeah.
In a video
I just
game,
prefer. It's
sure.
just one of the few kinds of gameplay style where I actually really need the second screen to enjoy it.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know what Etrian Odyssey is gonna do if they ever jump to Switch. I believe the newest Etrian Odyssey game is actually gonna be on the 3DS because
Dual wield switches, man.
dual wielding. That actually sounds awesome. So we're on the second floor right now. So one of the things that's going on here that we're going to be running into that I probably shouldn't have jumped into as quickly is there are raid bosses that you can find in here, which are super duper special ultra mega bosses that you are intended to fight with with other players of the game. I am not high enough leveled to fight these bosses, so you're going to see me try and then run away like a scared little baby very soon. But first I also open a treasure chest, which has a weird system to it. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in any other SMT or even mobile game for that matter. When you find a locked chest like this, you basically pick a number between, I think it's 1 and 30, and you have a chance of either getting nothing, a huge prize, or a normal prize. So you can actually ignore it as well. I don't know what the benefit to that would be.
Well, apart from not potentially wasting resources.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if there's any way to stack the odds in your favor, I suppose, is the way to put it.
It's kind of nostalgic. It's like the treasure chests from Nocturne.
Yeah, the treasure chests also look like that in SMT4 as well. I don't know when they started using that design specifically.
Well, I think it was probably from Nocturne when they started.
Yeah, almost certainly. But yeah, although the game does tell you where the boss is, like as you can see, the skull's right there. Not only is it a good idea to just wander around because I like seeing a full map, I'm that kind of guy, but also you can find magnetite bundles just lying on the ground. So I believe they're randomly spread across, so it's just good for some some of that. And oh, look! It's Mr. Buy It or I'll Commit Suicide himself.
Are the floors randomly generated, or are they set in stone maps?
I actually do not know. I would have to look at footage of someone else playing the game in order to make sure. They definitely look like they could be randomly generated,
because
but I don't know.
I see a lot of people describe, say, Persona 4 as randomly generated, but those floors are set in stone maps that are always the same. It was 3 that was random. So I just want to clarify whether or not it's actually random or not.
Yeah. Somebody in the comments probably knows, so thank you, comments. Also, I tried to trick Jack Frost, and he ain't having any of my crap. If you're such hot stuff, why don't you crush this rock with your bare hands? I love Jack Frost. Jack Frost is the best demon. You'll never be able to argue otherwise. Okay, so I'm about to... Okay, good, I didn't switch. That would have been a bad idea, because I forgot that I had demons weak to ice on my other team. Oh, wait, actually, no, I remember what I did now. So, when you switch your parties in the Aura Gate, it ends your turn immediately. So you're better off doing it at your last action because you can still use most of your party's actions and then only waste one move as opposed to 4 if you decide to switch. It's just that in this case, switching was a bad idea because this team is very frail and also weak to ice.
Yeah.
So,
That's oh dear.
Well, at least that was just a physical attack. Now there's an ice. Oops.
Yeah, the thing is that the oh god, I forget its name, but the peacock demon that I've got right there is probably the strongest one I have on this side of the team. So
What?
Yeah, that.
Hathor, what are you wearing? Are those cowbells?
I believe they are cowbells. She's an Egyptian, based off an Egyptian goddess,
Oh,
if I remember
that
correctly.
explains it.
So
They have all
I believe
kinds
that
of
has
weird animal human hybrid things, and
the Egyptian demons in SMT always look really cool to me for whatever reason. Oh yeah, also you can, now that the game is out and proper, you can read fractions of real conversations that people are having in the corner there. So right now, people are talking about how to get a specific demon, and I'm just ignoring it. But you can jump into that conversation if you want. I don't know how the game decides which conversations you hear and which ones you don't, though. So yeah, and now I can have more friends, although I don't have any friends in the in real life or in this game, so you know that stinks for me. But I believe we mentioned this last time. It is a good idea to try to make friends with as many people as possible because then you can basically carry around an extra demon with you for dungeons and story missions and whatnot. So that's helpful. But yeah, so we're coming up right here on the raid boss that I was talking about. This guy is a pretty big deal. I'm not even going to pretend to try to pronounce his name because I know I can't do it. But he's one of the 4 divas of Tokyo, and he's usually, whenever he's in a game, he's like a mid to late game encounter. But I decide I'm going to fight him anyway because that sounds
You
like
can do
it. No, I actually can't because he has over 50 health bars.
oh.
Yeah, he actually has
we're
over
doing
50.
Stacking health bars here.
Yeah.
Well, he certainly looks important.
Yeah, so he is also he's so fast that I'm surprised he didn't straight out kill me in one attack. But yeah, he's got 54 health bars.
Times 50. Jesus.
Yeah. So this is meant for either if you're a much higher leveled player or if you have a lot more people playing with you. I do not have a lot of people playing with me. So yeah, I'm doing like, you can see that tiny blip of 1 health bar going down there. So,
You can do it.
no, I actually can't. But yeah, so thankfully, however, like in any RPG, you can run away from fights. In this game, it's actually a guaranteed flee, which I always appreciate because running and failing is the worst every time you try it. But yes, however, you are penalized for trying to run away. I believe you lose 10 action points, or basically the equivalent of taking 10 steps. So if you know you're almost to a shrine and you can make it, then it might be a good idea if your party's running really weak. But other than that, though, I would only do it if
What happened to
absolutely
all
necessary.
that health?
I don't know what happens if you black out
What
in a
happened
dungeon.
to all that health?
So that's the raid aspect of it. All the other players in the raid at the moment did that damage.
Oh,
so
you're doing nothing.
yeah. So yeah. So I'm not helping, and I eventually realized that this is a waste of time, and I should leave right now. But it is a really cool feature, and it's one of the things about mobile games that definitely helps the social aspect is when you are forced to team up with other players to fight a big bad like this. It's one of the cooler aspects of this sort of system to me personally.
Do you know what kind of reward you get for ow?
For beating him? No, not really. I'd assume a crap ton of experience and some good drops. But other than that, like, I couldn't say more specifically. Also, you can escape during the enemy team's turn, and I believe it also takes your progress back as if you have never fought the game at all, fought that battle at all. So any demons that died will not be dead. Basically, it just pretends for a cost of AP, it pretends the fight didn't happen. Essentially, so that's a good way to handle it. Also, don't worry about just overlapping the at this point, I'm just checking the different rewards you can get. You can also take a break as well. So if you need to turn the phone off, you can stop what you're doing in the middle of the dungeon and then pick up right where you left off as a sort of suspend point thing.
Nice.
But don't worry about going over the demon's space. I'm a little bit worried about it right now, but you can just choose not to fight it and it will ignore you. So you don't have to worry about it chasing you down. Actually, that's another Persona thing that I'm going to bring up this time. The Reaper from Persona 3. You had to run away from that guy if you ever saw him because he would wreck you.
That's actually also in
most points.
Yeah, that's also in 5, but it rarely ever happens.
Him wrecking you or him popping up?
Him popping up. It's never happened to me even once, but I know it can happen. It's just, I'm never in a floor long enough for it to happen, even when I'm exploring around.
Yeah, because from what I remember from Persona 3, he pops up almost every other floor. From what I remember, I believe it was if you waited too long.
Well, it was more that in 3 the dungeon floor layouts were kind of slapdash and random, and if you were trying to explore them, sometimes you would get lost and confused, and sometimes your time would just run out. Also, I think there were certain floors where there would be a raised chance of better chests, but the timer for the Reaper would be shorter.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I do like the two team up mechanic for the dungeon though.
Yeah, it's really cool because again you can use that to baby a weaker team and get them to level up pretty quickly. Especially since you can start off on any floor that you've reached, for example. So you can go to a really really high leveled floor and then bring level 1 demons and they'll probably level up 10 or so times. But you can also bring 2 strong teams with you and it allows you to have more versatility and basically you're better able to handle tougher situations in there as well.
Well, I also like it for another reason, and it's because there's always usually not necessarily a Nocturne, but there's usually a tag-along team of supporting characters in a Shin Megami Tensei game.
Yeah, there is.
But you're always just your main character and whatever demons he has. And it's how many Shin Megami Tensei games, other than Digital Devil Saga or something, have actually let you control the other supporting characters?
So in Devil Survivor, that game's the kind of tactical RPG sort of thing. So you can have other characters as playable units, although half of them you can only recruit in the very end game. And in SMT4, you do have party members that will follow you around, but in the first game they kind of only just sort of follow you and will do an extra attack every now and then. SMT4 Apocalypse did a lot more with that, where they have their own unique skills, and they can you can choose which one you want to have follow you, because one thing in the vanilla version of Shin Megami Tensei 4 was that you didn't get to choose who came up. So sometimes Jonathan would just pop up, and he has fire skills, and you don't get to choose whether he pops up. So if the enemies you are about to fight are resistant or repel fire, then you're kind of boned. But that's one of the things about Apocalypse that I did like better, although generally speaking, I think vanilla SMT4 is a better game overall, personally. But that's explaining why would take forever, so I'm not going to go too deep in that because I have a lot to say. But yeah, that's one of the cool things about that. In the very old games, they could basically the SNES ones, you could have human people on your team. Which human person you have on your team is dependent on your story choices, but they would fill a slot in your party kind of like a demon, actually. So you could have...
Oh, so they'd be like Dante and Nocturne, or Raido Kuzunoha in the Japanese third release.
Yeah.
Which I forget what it's called.
Yeah. So, like in some parts of the game, you can, I believe it's summon 5 demons, and in other parts of the game, you can only summon 3 because the other 2 party members are in your team as well, and they have their own skills and whatnot, and some of them are more useful than others. But I'm not super experienced in the very old games because I've only played a little bit of the first Shin Megami Tensei using the iPhone version, and I got distracted and never went back to it. So
Yeah.
it's a good port though,
just
so
kinda-
I should go back to it at some point.
It's just kind of interesting that this dungeon has this mechanic where you have 2 characters with 2 separate teams, because I thought when I saw that you could recruit the party members, what I thought was it was just going to be like you choose whichever character you most want as your avatar, and they have a slightly different skill set as an incentive to switch it up every now and then. But you can actually have 2 of them and switch between the 2 in the middle of battle here, and I kind of like
Yeah.
that.
Although there is like I said earlier, there is a risk to switching because you use up the rest of your turn. So it is choosing when to switch is important. Like choosing it
This may
wisely.
seem like a weird thing to bring up in the context of a mobile game, but I like it narratively when there's a teamwork element there, rather than just you're the Pokemon trainer.
Yeah, same.
And everyone else just sits back and watches you.
Yeah, it's same. It's one of those shonen manga anime. Why aren't you all
Dragon Ball Z
helping?
tropes. Yeah.
kind of idea. No, where you can help. A lot of RPGs just sort of pretend that the rest of the team is helping, even though for gameplay you can only have like 4 party members or whatever. So yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that's basically all we have to show today of Shin Megami Tensei Dx2 Liberation. It is a really fun mobile game, so if you want something a little bit different for your mobile fun times, I would really recommend it. Again, we would like to thank Sega and Atlas for sponsoring this video, and again, if you click on the link in the description below, you'll be taken to the Facebook page where you can link up your account, and you get some extra bonuses for having that link, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you everybody so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again later.